2012, quite a year for me in thinking back to what went on in my life in 2012 and some decisions I made. It's fun just to go back to that time. So I left off that got things up and running in Macedonia, and that the next place of focus was going to be China, Shanghai, China. At around that time, I was coming up to 18 years with the company. I was 17 going on 18 years. And I knew I still loved it with a passion and could see myself continuing till whenever. But what had also started to play in my mind around that time, I had other dreams and other things that I hoped might happen in my life. And it was a case of coming to an understanding that I couldn't have both. I couldn't have this life that I've been living for the last 18 years, fulfilling my dreams. I couldn't continue to have that and start to go after or start to tackle the other parts of my life. So I spent a lot of time thinking about it, and I made a decision to myself that regardless of where things were, at 20 years I was going to walk away from the company. And it was that simple. At 20 years I was going to walk away. It was a personal, I don't know, personal badge of honor, personal achievement to have worked for any company for that length of time. And you know, I'd said before that Royal were very good to me and I was very good to them. I never thought it would go on for 20 years. but it did. So I had made that decision at around the same time that I was preparing to head over to China. And China was going to be a focus for the next several months between China and pretty much Asia, Australia. We had 3 ships down in Australia, so there was absolutely a big focus there. Things worked out amazingly because my travel for the next 3 or 4 months was pretty much between China and Australia. And I have a very close friend, lives in Sydney, Australia, lives on Bondi Beach, and I got to hang out and stay with him a bunch. I'd spend a couple of weeks in Sydney, wait for the ships to come in to Sydney. We'd jump on them for 2 or 3 days, leave in Melbourne or leave in Fiji or New Zealand, fly back to Sydney, change my laundry, pick up another ship, and away we go again. So this was the run of it for the next several months. One of my colleagues had gradually taken on the role of Macedonia and Philippines in the training centers. So that was being taken care of, and my focus was to basically do what we did in Manila and Macedonia to get ready to do that in China. So it was an amazing time. As say, I had made the decision that I was walking away in about 2 years' time. So I remember clearly saying to myself, make the most of it. And I was anyway. You know, I was loving it. I was waking up every morning, just loving life, loving my job, loving the people around me, loving the traveling. It ticked all the boxes. So that's how 2012 was looking. I also knew that if I did it for too much longer, I felt I'd be fine for another couple of years, but the travel was getting more and more. And more long-haul flights. You know, as mentioned, I was bouncing between Australia, China, back over to Miami, then to Europe, back to Ireland, Manila. And while it was great, and there was an element of it being, living the life, there was that element, and staying in these beautiful hotels and booking your own travel. But it was starting to grow a bit tired on me. It was wonderful to experience all these things, but I was really starting to miss not having somebody special in my life to share those things with. And I'd been blessed. I'd experienced that throughout my life, both in Ireland and then in two long-term relationships on the ships over my years, and I really missed that. And I really felt, you know, I was heading for my mid-40s at this point. I really thought about settling down. You know, it was an element of the grass being greener on the other side, I guess. But for me, I knew this couldn't go on forever, or if it did, that I was going to look back and maybe have regrets of not doing other things in my life. So that's pretty much where my mind was at that time. Work-wise, things were just getting busier and busier and busier. So that's where it was at. What I did in the time that I was down there, something I haven't mentioned, I'm a huge Formula One fan. Always have been from as a kid. I mean, James Hunt, Niki Lauda, Ayrton Senna, my idols, still are. And I've always been a massive F1 fan. In that last 2 years, I made it my mission, my absolute mission, to go and watch Formula One races based around my schedule. I'd gotten a taste for it in Monaco before. It wasn't there for race day, but it was there for practice day. And I couldn't even sleep that night. I was so excited after it. It was like a dream coming true. So over my last 2 years, I got to go to 2 Singapore Grand Prix, 2 consecutive years, 2 Malaysia Grand Prix, 2 consecutive years, and the Shanghai Grand Prix in China. 5 Grand Prix in 2 years. Also got to go to a J-Lo concert in Shanghai, but that's a whole nother story. So, boy, did I make the most of my last 2 years, that's for sure. I haven't even spoken about China yet. There was just a lot of other stuff that was going on around that time, and that was very important, you know, big piece of the journey here. So I'll maybe save it for next time around to talk about the experience of China and the time that I had there, and what it was like teaching Chinese people that had never set foot on a cruise ship or set foot outside of China, and how amazing they were and how amazing that experience was. So I'll pick that up in the next one. As always, thanks so much for tuning in. Please stay safe, have a lovely rest of your weekend, and look forward to the next video. Thanks so much. Bye.